Hey everybody, welcome to We Print It. What we're going to do today is paint this little 3D printed figure. He's actually a SD card holder. I got him off the files that came with my Bambu printer. So we're going to do in this video, as I said, is go over painting. We're going to go over the detail painting on this and my process. As you can see, it's already been prepped and primed. We are going to have videos on how to prep and prime 3D prints before we paint them, but that's in a later video. So let's go ahead, get over to the paint table, and get this little guy finished up. Alright, here we are at the paint table. What I like to do first is pick out my paints. As you can see, I'm just using regular acrylic craft paints. These are the colors that I've decided to do with this little guy. We're just going to do a quick, simple paint job, just kind of give you guys an idea of how to do this. It is one way of doing it. If you guys have any tips and tricks, go ahead and let me know down in the comments so that we can share. That's what I want this to be, a community where we share tips and tricks and help each other out and get this done, make some awesome stuff. So, as I said, first thing I do is get all my paints together. And then I get a palette of some sort. It can be something as simple as some cardboard. And then I have a little piece of FDM that I use as a dry brush palette. We'll get into the dry brushing in a moment here. And a cup of water and some paper towels. And also, which I have not done, but I will do right now, is go ahead and dig out the brushes you're going to use for this. So on this, I know I'm going to use various brushes, so I'm going to go ahead and get those out, and then we'll get to painting. Another thing I do is I go ahead and inspect the print or miniature, whichever I'm painting. Just kind of look over it. As mentioned, this has been primed and cleaned up already, but I go ahead and look over it, see if there's any little bits that I want to clean up real quick so I can have a smooth as possible of a surface to paint on. I've already inspected this. I don't really see anything that I'm too worried about. So we're going to go ahead and set him down, and then we're going to get to painting. Okay, now that we're all set up, ready to paint, I got some brushes out. I put my paints into a palette, and I have the figure I want to paint. So first thing I do is just kind of look it over, see where I want to start. I like to start from the bottom. That way it dries as I'm going, and then I can work my way up. Some people like starting from the top. It's all a matter of preference, but today we're going to start from the bottom here. So I see his feet and he has some armor. Let's go ahead and start there. So the first color I'm going to get is a flesh tone. And as you can see, he's painted all black. There's a reason for that. That kind of creates a natural shadow. So we're going to go ahead and start from the bottom. And this is just blocking in paints. You don't have to worry about being too clean. I tend to do this stage pretty sloppy. You can clean it all up later as you go. You can also airbrush, but we'll have videos on that at a later time. Today is just hand painting. So as you can see, I'm just painting in the different colors or the different areas that are going to be flesh tone. So, don't be afraid to flip it around. And you're going to get paint on areas you don't want to. This is kind of a quick, I call it the production way of painting. A lot of my items get sold to customers, and I don't have the time that some guys have per project. So I developed this, what I call production painting. It's just a quick way to get paint on, and we can work on the details and making it shine later. This is just blocking in, so to speak. So as you can see, I'm already done with the legs. Let's go ahead and get this hand. It's kind of sticking out on me. In this stage, I put the paint on fairly thick and spread it as I go. What I mean by that is I kind of put it on the piece and just use the brush to spread it around. I know it looks really sloppy right now, but I promise you it will look better as we go. As I said, this is just the quick way of getting paint on and getting progress in quickly. And you're not really looking to fill it in like a coloring book, so to speak. You're more or less covering the main areas and creating the shadows as you go. So you run the brush over the raised areas, and as you can see here, some areas are raised so they'll take on more paint. If you feel like you need more paint, just dip your brush and throw paint on. As you can see, I'm getting it on areas that aren't really meant to be flesh tone, but that's okay. We'll be taking care of all that. Okay, let's go ahead and get his neck. And his arm. Go ahead and get in there. And depending on the model, I don't tend to worry too much about the parts people aren't going to see, because like I said, this is all about production and speed. Go ahead and get his face. And when you do this, details will come out, and you can kind of start mapping how you're going to paint it as the details come out and you see, like I just painted his face, there's eyes. Okay, now I can start thinking about how I'm going to paint those eyes. I see he has a beard in there. I can start thinking about how I'm going to paint that beard. I always try to stay one step ahead, or think one step ahead, I should say. So, it's basically the same kind of procedure for every color. Go ahead and block in all the colors. As you can see, I just did flesh. It looks pretty messy. And then after that, I would go to the next color I wanted to work on, which will be the brown on the back of the shield here. So I'm going to go ahead and block everything in, and we'll be right back. Here he is, guys, all blocked in. All the main colors done. Now it's time for detailing. First thing we're going to do is the eyes. Those always seem to be the hardest part for me, but let's see if I can get this on film. So first thing you want for the eyes is a pointy brush, as pointy as you can get. And what I do is I go ahead and dip just the tip in the white, and I find where the eyeballs need to be. Kind of hard to see. And I fill that whole area in with white. And I go ahead and do it on the other side. Now say I'm doing a figure who needs like smoky makeup around, or eyeliner, something to that effect, then I would go ahead and do that black, and then do the white over that, and then put the pupils in. But this one doesn't need smoky makeup effects, so we just put the white in for the eyeballs, and then I'm gonna give him black pupils. Same thing, just dip the paint in the color you need, just the tip, and go ahead and find where that pupil's gonna be, and put a dot right in the middle of that eyeball. Now for eyebrows, same thing, I just dip the tip in whatever color paint I'm using, and this time it's black. Go ahead and mark off those eyebrows. And you can't really see his lips, but what I would do for lips is I take a little bit of red. Now this is for regular flesh tone lips. A little bit of red, and I mix a little bit of white with it. It gives it that pinkish color you're looking for. So that's red and white. And if that's too bright for you, go ahead and add some flesh tone. Just a little bit at a time. Now obviously if you want the lips to look like red lipstick or something to that effect, blue, pink, whatever the case may be, go ahead and just use that color. Get it to the tone you want by mixing, white, black, whatever the case may be. Get it to the tone you want, and then that's how you paint lips. But these are this is more of a flesh tone. This is a Spartan. He didn't wear makeup, so I'm just gonna give him the, and go ahead and paint that flesh tone on his lips. Good to go. Then we go around and do all the other details. As you can see, it's blocked in. All the main colors are blocked in, so around his helmet there's a little like a little border embellishment. I don't want to keep that the color, that bronze color. I want to make that silver. kind of match the shield. The shield is silver and bronze with the purplish V to match his cape. So then I go, like I said, I want to do silver, so I go ahead and get some silver on my brush and just very carefully there we go, a little better. And go ahead and very carefully trace that outline. And don't be afraid to move the piece to how you need it to be able to get the paint on there the way you want it. As you can see, I constantly move the piece around, and I make the piece work for me, not work for the piece. There's all kinds of gadgets where you can, have a handle to hold it and this, that, the other thing. If you like them, go ahead and use them. They're just not my thing. Not to say that they're a bad product, they just don't work great for me. I've tried them. I'm going to go ahead, get that back area. Alright, here we are guys, gonna do some dry brushing. So, dry brush, the color all depends on the effect you want. So this guy, I want to, along his plume here, I want to put some white dry brush. So, with dry brushing, all I do is get the color paint that I'm looking for, in this case white, load up the brush. Then I go over to what I call my dry brush palette, and you wipe off most of the paint onto it. And then you go over your piece in the area where you want to dry brush, and I start shaking the brush back and forth like I'm doing fingerprints before I touch the piece. This way, when it gets to the piece, I can see what kind of pressure I want to use on it. Because dry brushing isn't really meant to paint it, so to speak. It's meant to bring out the highlights and textures. And I want the dry brush to kind of go backwards. And it's all up to you, your preference, how much you want to dry brush. Like this one, I don't want a ton, but I want it to be there. So it kind of gives off that sort of illusion on his plume. And I don't really want white anywhere else. So let's dry brush this cape here. That's a purple. And in this case, you want to bring out the highlight. You're trying to bring out highlights. So I would take that original purple that I used to paint it, and I would add a little white, just lighten it up some. And go back to the palette, kind of wipe off most of the paint. And then I'd go over to cape, and all these folds and such that are standing up, just lightly brush over them. So you're basically using the brush to hit the parts that are standing up, kind of highlight them. You're not looking to paint the whole thing. You're just kind of getting the folds and high spots to pop out. This is a bit larger of a brush than I wanted to use, but we made it work. So you can do the same thing. We'll do the same thing on this loincloth. I'm going to go ahead and get a smaller brush. Load up the brush, wipe it on the palette, and just lightly rub the high spots. Go ahead and rinse these brushes off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the highlights on the skin. So go ahead and get the skin tone that I used. Get another dry brush. Mix a little white with the skin tone. You just want it slightly lighter than the original color. We're not trying to drown out the original color, we're just trying to bring highlights, show where the light would be hitting. So go ahead and hit that shoulder some, a little lighter. Go out and hit all the high spots that would be exposed. Wherever I think the light may hit, kind of give that effect that there's light shining on it. Go ahead and hit it. Alright, I call that good with the dry brush. Now next we're going to do a wash to tie everything together. Washing is the messy and fun part. We'll be right back with that. Alright, now we're back. We're going to do some wash. So first thing I would do a wash around the eyes. And I really like the Army Painter's washes, but you can make your own wash. You can do whatever wash you feel comfortable with. Like I said, I really like the Army Painter wash. What I'm doing is around his eyes, I'm going to do a red wash. And that just kind of gives some life to the skin. Makes his eyes look a little bloodshot, like he's been through some stuff. Been through war, as the Spartans do. Excuse me. And then once I do that, I go ahead and get a soft tone, which kind of looks good on the flesh. So I go ahead and get some soft tone. And just start washing over the flesh. Kind of get it in all the crevices. I wash over all of it, but in the crevices I pay a lot of attention. That way it creates the shadows that I'm looking for. Around the biceps, where the armor meets the skin. And there's a little neck here. Go ahead and wash and spread it as you go. Just make sure you cover the whole thing. And if it looks a little too dark, you can go ahead and add some water. Thin it out some. What I do is I wash the whole thing, and once I get all the skin tone washed how I want, then I'll go back with a piece of paper towel and kind of wipe off the excess. We'll get to that in a second here. See how it's a little dark on his leg there. Just add some water, spread it around. This is to me the least technical part of any kind of model or miniature painting, is the wash. All you're basically looking for is to get it in all the crevices and get the right wash for the right paint tone. Like skin tone should have a wash that looks convincing. You know, so on and so forth. Go ahead and almost got the whole thing washed. One thing about wash is if you let it sit, does create more of an effect. It does settle in to the crevices in the paint more. You just kind of go over it a few times with wash until you get the desired effect. I'm looking for kind of a dirty, battle-worn effect. Add some of that darker wash where I added the red. Not a lot, just enough to make some details pop out. And like I said, go with a paper towel, Q-tip, tool of your choice, and kind of dab the excess. You're not trying to get it all off, just enough to make it look convincing. Otherwise it can look a little streaky. And then I go ahead with a darker tone, sometimes just watered down black, but right now I'm using a strong tone, and go over the armor, just kind of, the wash kind of ties and blends everything together and makes the details pop out. As you can see, it pulls down into the crevices and gets where you need it to be. And like I said, don't worry if it starts pulling up too much. You can go back and wipe that off at a later time. Obviously, if you let it sit too long, it's gonna start drying. You want to work fast enough to where it doesn't dry, but you know, make sure you get the coverage you're looking for, the effect you're looking for. Like I said, the wash is basically tie everything together, make the colors not look so, coloring book so bold, more realistic, and also to make details pop. Go ahead with I like the dab when I'm using a paper towel. It makes more of more of the effect I'm looking for. Sometimes you do have to wipe, but I like to dab for the most part. Go ahead and get that plume. Dab off the excess. Let that dry and then we'll come back to it. And now here's the final product. It's a quick little project, show some of my techniques. We will have more videos like this with better techniques, or more techniques I should say, and better figures. This is just a quick one, kind of give you guys an idea of what we're about. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and see you next time.